Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back from our review of chapter 257 of Black Clover. Another extremely great chapter, but before I jump into the review, I do want to mention that in last week's review, when I was going over Dante's new transformation, I completely missed over the fact that he has two small black horns on his forehead now. And it's just because of the fact that they're black and that half his face is basically covered in that black like mask look, I completely missed over it. I just didn't even notice it. In fact, I wouldn't have noticed it in this chapter if we didn't get that one panel or that page where it's pretty much just an extreme close-up of Dante's head. That's the only reason why I noticed that, because I could see the small like white lines that you put that Tabata puts on his horns of the characters when they have black horns. I noticed that on his forehead, and that's when I pieced together, oh, he has two small horns there as well. So yeah, I missed that detail. If there's any other detail I missed about Dante's new transformation, let me know in the comment section down below, because I try to go back and look and make sure that I didn't miss anything else, but I probably did, so like I said, just let me know. Now, in my opinion, the biggest thing to come out of this chapter was the confirmation that Dante, not Lucifer, is the one that has the flesh type magic that we've seen Dante use to heal himself in the previous chapters. Which means that the theory that I had, along with a lot of people online, about each of the Dark Triad's three demons, Lucifer, Megikulo, and whatever Zeno's demon is, each have a magic that are tied to the human body. Lucifer's being flesh, Megikulo's being blood, and then Zeno's demon being bones. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like finding out that I was wrong about this theory really kind of changes my perspective or my enjoyment of the story at all. It doesn't. Finding out that Lucifer is the one that has gravitation magic and Dante's the one that has flesh magic doesn't change anything about the characters or my enjoyment of them. But it had seemed like Tabata was building up to the idea that the demons from the Spade Kingdom each have a type of magic that deals with the body. Especially when you take into account the Dark Apostles that Vanica brought with her when she invaded the Heart Kingdom, because each one of them had a type of magic that dealt with the body. But getting this confirmation from Dante in this chapter basically just switches the idea from, oh, demons from the Spade Kingdom all have magic that have something to do with the human body, over to mages from the Spade Kingdom naturally can have magic that has to do with their human body. Although it is a little disappointing now thinking back to the Dark Apostles that Vanica brought with her to the Heart Kingdom, because now we know that in those fights they weren't using their demons magic, they were using their own natural magic enhanced by their demons. Which means that we never actually got to see which magic the demons that they had use. And we never will, because each one of them were killed off by Vanica by the end of the arc, or by the end of that story part. So we'll never get to see exactly what those demons that they were tied to were actually capable of and what kind of magic they had. Which is very disappointing, because we spent a full chapter with those fights, some of them with 2 chapters, and yet we didn't get to see exactly what their demonic powers were. Although that being said, Tabata does really need to give us more clarification on exactly what is the deal with the Dark Apostles, because now that I'm remembering back to that same chapter where Vanica blew up her Dark Apostle followers, I remember her mentioning that she gave them their demonic powers. So it becomes now a question of, are they actually tied to a demon? Do they have a contract with a demon? And that's the reason why they're actually able to use demonically enhanced powers and have a dark form. Or did each of the Dark Tribe members choose their own Dark Apostles, probably just, soldiers who are higher ranked than most of the other ones in the Spade Kingdom, and give them a portion of their own abilities in order to enhance them so that they can have a dark form and basically be stronger fighters. Now, getting back to Dante, we start the chapter off with him basically reassembling himself, kind of like Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z. Basically, he's going from just being scattered body parts to reforming his body. And it's actually kind of cool the way he does it. And it makes me question, now that we know that flesh magic actually was his own natural ability, to what extent could he have done this before he gained a contract with Lucifer? I mean, like, could he regrow an arm before his contract with Lucifer? Or could he basically just, like, heal small wounds like that cut that Asta gave him a few chapters ago when they first fought? If Asta hadn't been using an anti-magic sword, could he have just basically healed that and that'd be the extent of his powers? Or that cut that Yami gave him, that severe slash that Yami did on his chest, would he have been able to heal that prior to getting the contract with Lucifer? I'm really hoping that the body gives us a flashback to Dante's early days before he became tied to Lucifer, so we can see kind of an extent of what his abilities were capable of and what they were prior to this. Because Dante's made it a point in this chapter that he doesn't really like using his flesh type magic because he thinks it's kind of disgusting, which, yeah, it kind of is. But he only relies on his gravitation magic that he gets from Lucifer because he's tied to him. So I wonder now, what was his magic abilities like before that, before he actually was contracted to Lucifer? Oh no, I guess if you look at the monologue Dante went on in this chapter, he probably was never normal. Because he goes on this whole monologue in the beginning of the chapter about how excited he is. At first, he's in complete disbelievement that there was anyone who could do as much damage to him as Yami did in the last chapter. And then immediately after he accepts the fact that Yami is this strong, he just gets excited. Like the dude is in pure ecstasy over the idea of being able to continue to fight Yami, to the point where it seems like in the chapter, he's completely forgotten about the fact that they need to keep Yami alive. Because the blows he's throwing at Yami after he reforms his body almost seem like he's actually intending to kill Yami in a full-out fight. I really love the way Tabata's been depicting the Dark Tribe members so far since their introductions. The only one I have a small complaint about is Zeno, and that's because we don't really have any details about Zeno. He just seems kind of like the stoic type character so far. We haven't really seen enough of him to see if he's as crazy as Dante and Vanica seem to be, because Vanica's a pure-blooded yandere. Dante is just a fucking fight maniac. But with Zeno, he seems like the only one that's kind of calm. And I'm wondering if that's actually going to be the demeanor that Tabata's going to keep him with, or if we just haven't seen him actually go crazy yet. So the rest of the chapter is literally just a fight between Yami and Dante. And Dante, now that he's reformed his body, he's basically taken the advantage of like reworking it, so now he's a lot bigger and bulkier. It kind of reminded me of how like after Gohan knocked 18 out of Cell's body, Cell blew himself up in order to basically try to explode and take the planet with him, killing Gohan and everyone else. But unlike what Cell did in that arc, Dante doesn't actually try to explode. He basically just made himself bigger so that he could be more monstrous when fighting against Yami. And Yami's he's doing his best, and you can see that Yami is actually using his new thrust attack a lot more. It's still not what he's expecting it to be, but if you look at a chapter when he's actually fighting against Dante, you can see that he's actually fine-tuning it as he fights. Because before, like we saw what happened in the last chapter, when it became like a cannon-like attack that basically took off all of Dante's body, or his upper body, when he throws it at Dante in this chapter, it's more precise. It's still kind of like a cannon, but it's a lot smaller, and each time he uses it, it does seem like it is getting smaller and smaller. Unfortunately though, after a certain point, Dante finally lands an attack on Yami, and Yami realizes that he can't win this fight alone. And then after Yami realizes that he can't win the fight, we cut over to Asta, and we see him basically struggling to get up because he wants to jump in there and help his captain, because he knows that his captain is struggling at this point. And he just doesn't have the strength to do it. But that's when we go over to Yami again, and Yami realizes, hey, I can't beat this guy on my own. He has monster strength, he's big as hell, and my attacks just aren't hitting him like they used to be. I can't do this alone. And he calls on Asta to be his wingman, to help him out in the fight and tag team with him. And this, a lot of people probably argue that this is the power friendship type of bullshit motif that Shonen Jump series are known for doing. But this really works, because we have the established relationship between Asta and Yami. We know that Asta greatly looks up to Yami, and Yami's really taking up Asta, along with the rest of the Black Bull members, as his kind of like protege. So because of that, there's that established relationship where when Yami calls on Asta or any of the Black Bull members, they step up regardless of the situation. And that's actually what I really like about the Black Bulls in this series, because they, more than any other squad, actually feel like a team and a family. And that when no matter what's going on, if they can hear one of their members calling for help, they're jumping into the fight, regardless of how beat up they are, regardless if they think they can actually win. They are jumping in and putting every single bit of energy they have into helping out. So I'm having a hard time deciding if I like this week's chapter more or less than last week's. Because don't get me wrong, they're both hype. They're both extremely well done chapters. But they're good for different reasons. Last week's chapter was good because of the fact that we got that amazing shot of Dante getting one-shotted by Yami. But this week's chapter is extremely good because of the fact that it sets up the idea of next week we're going to have Yami and Asta tag teaming to face off against Dante. So it's kind of like, in my last week's chapter I was actually excited for the chapter. In this week's chapter I was hyped over the fact of what the chapter was setting up. So yeah, I can't really decide which one I like more. Let me know in the comment section down below which chapter you thought had a hyper ending. Was it last week's or was it this week's? Now that being said though, even with the extreme hype that I have about Asta and Yami tag teaming to fight off against Dante, because of the fact that we know that Tabata is not going to basically have the Dark Tribe members be defeated, especially not Dante, possibly the strongest Dark Tribe member that we've faced off against yet, be defeated this early on in the arc, we know that in the next chapter, no matter how hard they struggle, they're going to lose and Yami's going to get kidnapped. So while I am extremely hyped to see the fight go down to the next chapter between the three of them, because we already know what the end result has to be, it kind of kills the hypeness down a little bit or keeps it capped at a certain level. Like, I can't get too excited about it because I know no matter what, no matter how many cool moves Asta and Yami pull off, or no matter what kind of new technique that Yami pulls out, or new form of the dark mode that Asta gets, no matter what, Dante is going to walk away with the win. Now, it could be that they end up pushing Dante to do that hybrid form that we saw Vanica use in order to basically defeat them. But even still, regardless of what form he has to do or what kind of new technique he brings out, at the end of the day, Dante is going to win. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. It looks like we're pretty much at the end of the first half of this War with the Spade Kingdom arc. I'm excited to see where the second half goes, what kind of new power-ups we see the characters get, what kind of amazing fights we're in for later on. Can't wait to get to it. But like I said, that's it for me for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Comment down below with your thoughts and theories, and I will catch you guys next week. Peace.